Breakfast Club.
So listen up.
Well, Russell Simmons, man, there's another allegation against him. And this is from the writer Jenny Lumet. She's the screenwriter from Rachel Getting Married and The Mummy. Now, we told you previously that there was a model who had allegations against Russell Simmons and a situation that happened with her and Brett Ratner and Russell Simmons where she felt like, well, she said she was allegedly anally penetrated by Russell Simmons in the shower and that he forced her to perform oral sex. Well, now this writer Jenny Lumet is saying, and she, by the way, is the granddaughter of Lena Horne, and also the daughter of filmmaker Sidney Lumet. She said that in response to what Russell Simmons wrote, where he said he's never committed any acts of aggression or violence in my life, I would never knowingly cause fear or harm to anyone. She wrote a whole letter to Russell. She said, Dear Russell, I met you around 1987 through Rick Rubin, who has always been kind to me. She goes on to talk about one night around 1991 when she was 24. She was at Indochine, a restaurant. She said, I'd worked there when I was 17 as the coat check girl, and I enjoyed returning. I still knew some of the staff. And she talked about how Russell Simmons was there, and he had a car and a driver that evening and offered her a ride to her home. That's when she said, sure. She didn't have any issues with him. They had known each other, had been in the same circle. She was in the Run DMC movie. He would sometimes send her flowers at work. She didn't take it that seriously, but he did respect her grandmother, Lena Horne. Now, she said the driver started to drive. She said, I assumed you knew where I lived because you had sent me 250 balloons. But I gave the driver my address, 19th Street and 2nd Avenue, and Russell said no. And she said to the driver again, 19th Street, and he said no. And that's when the car doors locked. She said it was loud. The noise made me jump. Now, she talks about how she felt at this time. She said, I felt dread and disorientation. I wanted to go home. I said I wanted to go home. I didn't recognize the man next to me. I didn't know if the situation would turn violent. I remember thinking I must be crazy. I remember hoping the Russell I knew would return at any moment. And then she says, when they did get to the apartment, he had her alone in the elevator, pressed her into the corner with his body, his hands, and his mouth. She went up to his apartment and she said at that point she was just trying to keep him calm. She said, I thought, just keep him calm and you'll get home. Maybe another person would have thought differently, she said. But she decided that she was going to make that trade of just doing whatever he said just so that he would not overreact and she could get out of there safe. She said there was penetration. At one point you were only semi-erect and appeared frustrated. Angry. I remember being afraid that you would deem it my fault and become violent. I did not know if you were angry, but I was afraid that you were. So in order to try to keep the situation from escalating, she said she just wanted to not be difficult and stay contained. She said, you told me to turn over on my stomach. You said something about a part of my body. You did not ejaculate inside me. She said when everything was done, she just got her clothes and quickly went down the elevator by herself. And, you know, she said she spoke out now because she doesn't want the women who are speaking out against him to be left twisting in the wind. Maybe the recalling of this incident can be helpful. I don't know if it can. But she said she has built a life in the past 25 years and a reputation in the industry. I need no one to have this visualization of me. I will, like the others, lose work because of this. I realize how privileged I am to be able to risk that.
Is Russell denying these allegations? Because he denied. Oh, no, he said the first ones were consensual, right? So what is he saying about this
Right.
one?
He said his recollection of that first one was consensual. Now with this one, he released a statement and he said he's been informed with great anguish of her recollection of that night in 1991. He said, I know Jenny and her family and have seen her several times over the years since the evening she described. While her memory of that evening is very different from mine, it's now clear to me that her feelings of fear and intimidation are real. While I have never been violent, I have been thoughtless and insensitive in some of my relationships over many decades, and I sincerely and humbly apologize. And he did step down. He's supposed to be doing the all-deaf comedy movie with HBO. He has stepped down from that. Now, HBO is going to air all-deaf comedy as planned, but Russell Simmons will not appear. Oh, it's a series, in the new series, and they're also taking his name from the show moving forward.
So he stepped down. Does that mean like he retired or?
From the HBO all-deaf comedy. So he's not on that at all. You won't see his name on there.
But no, you said he stepped down. What did he step down from?
From all deaf comedy as planned. He's not going to be involved.
Because I read that yesterday. I thought they said he stepped down from his companies. I was just wondering what all the companies were. Because when I read it, they read it like, what happens? Is he retiring? That's like the first retirement because of rape culture, right?
Well, yeah, I think he might be just stepping down so that he doesn't cause a distraction from all these companies. But, you know, I guess he is saying that maybe what he didn't realize at that time
was rape.
Yeah. And
Russell's an interesting one because we've all witnessed the growth of Russell. And, you know, he was on that cocaine and meat back in the day, but I don't think he's the same person anymore. So if the allegations are true, like what should happen now? Like how do you deal with a person who's righteous now, but used to be a savage.
I mean, if you messed up and did something and ruined somebody else's lives,
you got to pay for it.
You have to, and there's nothing you can do. And he must know that. He said he is removing himself from all of the businesses that he founded. So that's happening. I had a lot more to tell you guys about other people affected, but we'll get into that later in the rumors. We're going to talk about A$AP Bari, who's now being sued for sexual assault. We're going to talk about Matt Lauer and give you an update on everything that's happening with him.
Who's not raping women? Like, Jesus Christ, what is going on out here in these streets?
A lot of people aren't.
Who's not sexually assaulting
A lot
women?
of people.
Who's not sexually harassing women?
All right, well, I'm Angela Yee, and
y'all
that
better raise your hands. What the hell wrong with y'all?
is your Rumor Reports.